From JBS Studios in Greater New York, this is the JBS News Update with Teisha Bader.
I'm Teisha Bader with the JBS News Update for Tuesday, May the 28th, 2024. As intense fighting continues in Gaza between Israeli troops and terror group Hamas, the IDF announced 2 casualties this weekend. They are 20-year-old Staff Sergeant Sahar Sudai, who was killed in Gaza on Sunday, and 20-year-old Staff Sergeant Betzalel Tzvi Kovac, who died on Sunday from injuries he sustained in Gaza on May the 22nd. The IDF continues to eliminate terrorists in Gaza and also destroy terror infrastructure, including overnight, it said, a rocket production site and a terror tunnel about half a mile long. Initial findings of an IDF investigation into an airstrike in Gaza Sunday night that targeted 2 Hamas commanders and unintentionally led to the deaths of Gazan civilians in a humanitarian zone said the civilian deaths were likely caused by a fire ignited by explosives or munitions on the ground in the area that the IDF was unaware of, and not by the airstrike itself. The Hamas-run health ministry in Gaza saying 45 civilians were killed. The targeted precision airstrike hit a closed compound in Rafa where 2 senior Hamas commanders who directed and carried out murderous attacks against Israel were meeting, more than a mile away from the safe zone. The IDF said contrary to Hamas's lies and misinformation, the strike did not take place in the humanitarian area, and the IDF used the utmost caution to avoid civilian harm. IDF spokesperson Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari called what happened a devastating incident which we did not expect, and shared more about what took place.
Our aerial surveillance was filming prior to the strike in order to minimize civilian harm. Here is the footage from our strike of the specific structure where the senior Hamas commanders were meeting. The strike was conducted using 2 munitions with small warheads suited for this targeted strike. Following this strike, a large fire ignited for reasons that are still being investigated. Our munition alone could not have ignited a fire of this size. I want to repeat it. Our munition alone could not have ignited a fire of this size.
Hagari saying that even when the cause of the fire is determined, it will not make the situation any less tragic, reiterating that its fight was with Hamas and not with the people of Gaza, and that the IDF conveyed its deep sorrow. An investigation is ongoing. The Times of Israel cited a statement from a U.S. National Security Council spokesperson about the incident in Rafa, saying Israel has a right to go after Hamas, and we understand this strike killed 2 senior Hamas terrorists who are responsible for attacks against Israeli civilians. But as we've been clear, Israel must take every precaution possible to protect civilians. For the first time in 4 months, rockets were fired by Hamas from Rafa toward central Israel on Sunday. Many intercepted by the Iron Dome, and there were no injuries reported in the barrage, which set off sirens across Tel Aviv and the surrounding areas. The IDF responded, hitting the source of the rocket fire. Rockets were also fired today at southern Israel, with damage reported to a vehicle that was unoccupied at the time, but no injury, and continued to be fired at northern Israel by terror group Hezbollah. No injury was reported in the north. The IDF continues to respond to the attacks from Hezbollah, hitting terror targets in Lebanon, including today a munitions warehouse. Sirens also sounded in Israel's southernmost city of Eilat, where the IDF said a fighter jet together with the air defense fighters successfully intercepted 2 drones that made their way to the territory of the country from the east. There were no casualties there, the IDF stressing the drones did not cross into Israeli territory. Meanwhile, humanitarian aid continues to flow into Gaza. The IDF shared a weekly summary on Sunday saying that 1,806 pallets of food were delivered via the new floating pier in Gaza in coordination with U.S. Central Command. That 2,065 aid trucks entered Gaza through the Kerem Shalom and Erez West crossings, double the amount that entered last week, it said, and 352,000 liters of fuel were supplies to essential centers, hospitals, and shelters, in addition to 232 trucks from the United Nations World Food Program. Turning now to some other news, 2 people opened fire at a Jewish girls' school in Toronto early Saturday morning. There were no injuries. CBC News reported that Toronto police are looking for multiple suspects who allegedly shot at Beis Chayamushka in North York, causing some damage to the front of the school. They then fled the scene. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau called the incident a brazen act of anti-Semitism. He said its perpetrators need to be brought to justice. I encourage anyone with information, Trudeau said, about this incident to share it with Toronto police. U.S. Special Envoy to Monitor and Combat Anti-Semitism, Ambassador Deborah Lipstadt, hosted a first-of-its-kind symposium this past Thursday to combat online anti-Semitism. The State Department said that the symposium convened technology executives, NGOs, and government representatives to foster collaborative thinking about effective action against surging online anti-Semitism. Those NGOs included representatives from the American Jewish Committee, the World Jewish Congress, the Anti-Defamation League, and more. Ambassador Lipstadt said the symposium served as a space where industry and NGO leaders could utilize each other's experiences and expertise, forging a pathway toward concerted action. Taking a look now at our programming for tonight on JBS for Tuesday, May the 28th at 7 o'clock. Author Ben M. Freeman addresses the phenomenon of internalized anti-Jewishness in his talk on the impact of Jew hatred on Jews. And Professor Amy Elman lectures on all-American anti-Semitism through replacement feminism. At 8, Justin Pines is joined by Jewish educator and Tanakh lecturer Smadar Rosensweig to explore the impact and legacy of Nehama Leibowitz, one of the world's most influential Torah scholars. At 9, director Jennifer Gelfer and actor John Buffalo Mailer talk about their film The Second Son. At 10, it's ILTV's Insider, which is also coming up next. At 10:30, an encore of this newscast. And that's the JBS News Update for Tuesday, May the 28th, 2024. I'm Teisha Bader. Am Yisrael Chai.